The internet is losing its mind right now over claims that Google successfully predicted the massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake that just rocked northern Venezuela on June 24. Mainstream media is calling it a landmark triumph of predictive AI. Tech influencers are making videos claiming algorithms have officially unlocked the ability to see natural disasters before they happen. They are completely, fundamentally wrong. Google didn't predict a damn thing. What actually happened in Venezuela wasn't a miracle of predictive machine learning. It was a brutal, beautiful masterclass in distributed edge computing, physics, and cutthroat latency management. If you think an AI looked into a crystal ball and saw a fault line slipping hours in advance, you're buying into marketing hype. The reality of what actually saved thousands of lives in Venezuela is far more impressive than predictive magic. It's an engineering feat of pure reaction time, operating at the absolute limit of the speed of physics. Let's strip away the fluff and look at the actual architecture of how we outrun an earthquake. To understand why this isn't prediction, we have to start with physics. Earthquakes do not release all of their destructive energy in one single instantaneous burst. Instead, when a fault line ruptures deep underground, it generates a sequence of different seismic waves that travel through the earth at completely different speeds. The first wave to break away from the epicenter is called the P wave, or primary wave. Think of the P wave as a pulse of compression. It moves fast, blisteringly fast, traveling between 5 to 8 kilometers per second depending on the rock density. But here's the thing, P waves carry very little destructive energy. If you're standing right above it, you might feel a sharp, minor vertical jolt, or you might not notice it at all. Trailing behind the P wave is the real nightmare, the S wave, or secondary wave. These are shear waves that move the ground sideways and vertically. They travel much slower, averaging about 3 to 4 kilometers per second, but they carry the massive, violent energy that collapses buildings, shatters concrete, and tears down infrastructure. This velocity gap creates a literal race against time. If you are located 100 kilometers away from the epicenter when a fault slips, the harmless P wave is going to reach you in roughly 12 to 15 seconds. The destructive S wave, however, won't arrive for nearly 30 seconds. That 15-second gap is your window of survival. Google didn't predict the future in Venezuela, they just built a system that can detect the P wave instantly, process the data, and send a notification over the internet fast enough to beat the physical S wave to your front door. Traditionally, if a country wants an earthquake early warning system, they have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars burying highly sensitive government-grade seismometers deep in the bedrock. Countries like Japan and the US have these dense networks. Most of the world does not. If you don't have that infrastructure, you are completely blind until the ground starts ripping apart. Unless you realize that the world is already covered in a massive accidental sensor array, the billions of Android devices sitting in people's pockets and on their nightstands. Inside your smartphone is a tiny component called an IMU, an inertial measurement unit. It contains an accelerometer, the exact same sensor your phone uses to count your steps, detect when you rotate your screen, or figure out if you flipped your phone face down. These accelerometers are incredibly sensitive. If a phone is completely still, its internal sensor can easily register the microscopic, high-frequency vibration of an incoming seismic P wave. But there's a massive catch. A smartphone is a chaotic, noisy environment. If a phone on a desk registers a sudden violent shake, that doesn't mean a fault line slipped. It could mean someone dropped their coffee mug, a heavy delivery truck just rumbled past outside, or a dog jumped onto the bed. Let's trace the exact path a data packet takes from the moment the Earth moves to the moment your screen flashes red. This is the 5-step pipeline that executed in milliseconds during the Venezuela quake. Step 1. The rupture. The tectonic plate slips. P waves and S waves begin their race outward from the epicenter. Step 2. The edge trigger. Thousands of stationary charging Android phones in the immediate zone feel that faint, fast P wave. The internal accelerometer triggers a high-frequency polling state. Step 3. The data ingest. Those phones instantly compile a lightweight data packet. We're talking bytes here. It contains only a coarse, anonymous location tag and the peak acceleration vector of the movement. Keeping this packet microscopic is critical, because if the phones tried to send large files, they would completely collapse the local cellular towers during the first second of the emergency. Step 4. Spatial temporal clustering. This is where Google's back-end servers do the heavy lifting. The The system doesn't care about a single phone shaking. It looks at a tight, specific window of time and geographic space. If 5,000 phones inside the exact same digital grid register identical seismic signatures within milliseconds of each other, the math completely rules out random human noise. It is mathematically impossible for 5,000 people to drop their phones at the exact same millisecond in the same neighborhood. The system instantly confirms an earthquake is occurring. Step 5. The outrun. The moment consensus is reached, the backend calculates the estimated epicenter and magnitude. It instantly fires a high-priority push notification to every Android device located further out along the S-Wave's path. If you are far enough away, your phone screams an alert before the ground beneath your feet even moves. You get 5, 10, maybe 30 seconds of advance notice. Time to drop, cover, and hold on. Time to step away from glass windows. Time for automated industrial systems to pause heavy machinery or slow down transit trains. For the software engineers and system architects watching this, let's talk about the absolute nightmare of a latency problem Google had to solve here. This isn't an AI problem. This is a pure data routing and egress problem. Think about the sheer scale. When an earthquake hits a major metropolitan hub, millions of devices are suddenly screaming into the cloud at the exact same millisecond. If your backend hits a bottleneck, if an ingestion queue backs up for even 3 seconds, the system is completely useless because the S-Wave will have already arrived. To survive this ingestion spike, Google routes these millions of sudden pings through geographically distributed edge nodes to distribute the processing load. Then comes the egress problem. Getting the warning back out. If Google used standard push notification queues, the ones that handle your social media notifications, emails, or app updates, the warning would arrive long after the building collapsed. Standard push notifications are throttled and queued to save bandwidth. To bypass this line, Google baked a dedicated hyper-priority downstream channel directly into Google Play services at the system level. This channel bypasses standard OS throttling entirely. The moment the server says go, the notification forces its way to the absolute front of the phone's processing queue, instantly taking over the UI and waking up the screen. This brings us back to why the AI prediction narrative is so incredibly dangerous. Prediction means forecasting an event before it begins. It means looking at a fault line on June 23rd and saying, tomorrow at 2 p.m., this is going to snap. Current seismic science cannot do that. Why? Because tectonic faults don't give off clean, predictable pre-signals. They don't leave clues that a neural network can easily decipher ahead of time. Google didn't solve earthquake prediction. They bypassed the prediction problem entirely by achieving near-perfect optimization of the reaction. Think of it like a stadium wave. If the first person in section 101 stands up and throws their hands in the air, you don't need a psychic to tell you that section 105 is about to stand up next. You just need a drone hovering over the stadium to watch section 101 move. Instantly radio the people in section 105 and tell them to get ready. That is what the Android earthquake alert system is. It's a planetary drone watching the stadium wave of seismic energy. It does have real limitations. If you are standing directly on top of the epicenter, the P waves and S waves hit you at almost the exact same time. Your phone will act as a sensor to save people further away, but you won't get an alert in time because you are the data source. But for millions of people living outside that immediate zero zone, those few seconds are the difference between panic and survival. So the next time you see a tech headline claiming an AI predicted a natural disaster, stop and look at the engineering. The reality, using billions of pocket-sized, noisy edge sensors to build a reactive distributed network that can literally outrun the physical cracking of the Earth, is far more spectacular than any marketing hype. Turn your alerts on, look at the architecture, and appreciate what real engineering actually looks like. See you in the next one.